My name's Amy Keenan, and I've popped up during your YouTube search because you may be looking for some answers on how to overcome your phobia. So, one technique is what's called repeated exposure, and in essence, it's a really effective way to desensitize yourself to your phobia. So, there are 3 stages to make sure this technique sticks for the long term, and these include assessment, intervention, and finally maintenance. It's really important to keep in mind that even though you can use this technique yourself, it can be a good idea to ask a trusted friend or family member to help you out. You don't have to do this alone, and having someone there can provide support and encouragement as well as keeping you on track towards your goal. So the first stage is the assessment stage, and this involves looking at your phobia, which I'm sure you know exactly what it is about, and creating what is called a fear hierarchy. This is sort of a graduated list of scenarios involving the particular subject towards which you feel fear. You would want to have at least 10 to 15 scenarios, beginning with ones that produce little to no fear, up to ones that produce the greatest amount of fear. You would then give each of these scenarios in the hierarchy a SUD score, or what is called subjective units of distress scale score. And this would be a rating from 10 to 100. So for example, your first scenario would be rated out of 10, your second out of 20, and so on. It's really important to keep in mind that you don't want this score between each scenario to be more than 10. This is so you don't get too overwhelmed or expose yourself to a scenario that may produce too great an amount of fear. If this happens, more scenarios can always be added into the hierarchy. It's also important to create scenarios that stay within the parameters of what you will and won't do. The whole idea of this technique is not to put yourself in danger or in harm's way. It's also not about completely eradicating your anxiety. Anxiety is a normal physiological response that we all need. It's about really tackling your overwhelming fear and the subsequent avoidance of the subject of your phobia. You may also like to include at this stage a reward for yourself for completing each scenario. Being positively reinforced with praise, for example, will increase the odds of you completing the scenarios you've set for yourself. So next comes the intervention stage. Here you would start with the first scenario you've set, the one that you've rated out of 10. And if your friend or family member agrees, then they could expose themselves to the scenario before you. This is what's called modeling, and it provides an example of another person engaging with the feared stimulus with a positive outcome. So after this happens, you would expose yourself to that first scenario for several minutes. It's important to remember to keep calm and take some deep breaths. After that initial exposure, you would then give another SUD score. If that score is at least half of that first rating that you gave in the assessment stage, and you are comfortable to, then feel free to tackle that next scenario. If not, you would repeat exposing yourself in that scenario until your score dropped by half. And so you've begun your intervention. From here, you would work your way through the scenarios in the hierarchy, all the way up to that last scenario, which you rated at 100. There is no need to rush. Go at your own pace. That's important because you may have been living with this phobia for a long time. So just try and keep in mind why you decided to tackle your phobia in the first place, because you're feeling courageous and are ready for change. So now we come to the final stage, the maintenance stage. Getting through the fear hierarchy was the first challenge. Now it's going to be up to you to maintain those changes. This involves re-exposing yourself to the subject of your phobia on a regular basis. Whether it be weekly or monthly, letting yourself be present in a situation where your phobia may be triggered is important. It helps to retain that desensitization that you work so hard for during the intervention stage. Remember to always keep yourself safe as well. I really hope that this may have helped some of you, and I wish you all the best and good luck to you all.